Welcome back to Calvary Life. This is a podcast of Calvary Baptist Church to our members and to anybody else out there that's interested in local church life. I'm Charles.
Hey, I'm Paul. I had a conversation, Charles, this past week at a associational pastors meeting. We were talking a little bit about podcasts, and he asked me, so what's the main purpose of your podcast? What's the audience? And I said, well, it's kind of twofold. Really, it's for our people, really, sort of. That's primary because we talk about church stuff that affects us.
Right.
But when we talk about bigger issues and things, it really affects churches in general. So it's broad in that sense. And so anybody who's listening, there may be some things that you hear that, that's our situation too, or that speaks to our needs. Today we got something that we want to talk about that speaks specifically to Calvary, and that's we want to introduce our new director of worship, Zach Whitehead. So Zach, welcome.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Put you on the hot seat today. We're telling Zach before we started that this is an informal sort of podcast and we don't do edits. So whatever comes out on these mics, that's what goes.
Yeah, this is live, almost live. It's not live, but
it's semi-live.
It's not 2 or 3 takes to it.
Mainly because we don't have time to do this over and over.
No, exactly.
So Zach, let's start with the critical stuff, okay? The foundational stuff. Sure. For people who don't know yet, tell us a little bit about you. So tell us a little bit of your story, your background, and tell us about your family and that sort of thing, and let people get to know you on that level first.
Absolutely. So I'm actually from Dothan. Sarah and I both are, but I grew up actually in a town called Pansy, Alabama. So it's out kind of in the boonies, but grew up there and going to Memphis Baptist Church here in Dothan, and went to high school at Emmanuel Christian School, graduated from there. But I accepted the Lord at a young age when I was about 8 years old. And then in high school, when I was maybe 12, I started learning to play guitar and got to start doing music and those kinds of things for worship at church. And that's when the Lord kind of started stirring in me, maybe ministry being something that I'd want to do long term. And
is your family musical?
So my brother
you put a guitar in your hand at 12.
So no, my brother actually played the drums growing up. So he was like the first person that I'm aware of at Memphis, like the drum set came out, and it's kind of a big deal. They put drums on the stage at church, and so I watched him do that and do like youth events and help lead worship and do those things growing up, and so I got to see him do that. I think my dad played trumpet maybe or something growing up.
Okay,
and he looks like a trumpet player.
Yeah,
I would see that.
But growing up, we did have a piano at home, and so somehow knowing how to read music from trumpet, he could take a hymn book and like play hymns and things like that. But other than that, really, it's Drew and I. But started leading worship or helping lead worship pretty young, just playing guitar on stage at Memphis. And then when I got into the youth, got to lead worship there, and then going to Emmanuel, which is a Christian school here in Dothan. We did chapel on Thursdays, and so I got to help lead that praise team as well. So I was going to do Sundays, Wednesday nights, and Thursday mornings with school and church. And anyways, after high school, went to the University of Mobile, and the degree I was pursuing was actually a new one, it was like a worship leadership degree, but it was worship technologies. So it had a big focus on like sound and lighting and those kinds of things. And like in my first semester there, someone from Memphis called me, which it was my home church. That's the only church I went to growing up, but they called and were just like, hey, would you be interested in like coming and serving on staff underneath Brother Billy Rich was the music pastor there at the time. And
yeah, we know Billy.
So to do like media, which is what I was there in school for, but also with the idea of maybe potentially assuming the role because Brother Billy was kind of thinking he may want to step into like a pastoral care or senior adult ministry. And that was exciting to me. So I did that. I didn't finish at Mobile. I moved back to Dothan and started working at Memphis doing the media. I really was like a glorified music assistant kind of deal. But because I was young, I got to do the slides and sound and those kinds of things too. But I didn't want to stop school at that time, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. But since BCF was pretty close, I went to the Baptist College of Florida. I think it's Buff now.
Yeah. Baptist University of Florida.
Okay, Baptist University of Florida. I went there, and it was just some sort of worship leadership. I'm not exactly sure what the degree would have been, but I did that just to continue. I knew that was the avenue I wanted to be in. So I continued that, and then quickly found from someone, Liberty had a really good online program. And so my degree and what I finished with is worship studies from Liberty University, and continued working at Memphis. I probably should have backed up and said,
Yeah, when did Sarah come into the mix?
So early on, it's hard to look back honestly sometimes, because it's all kind of a tangled mess. But they came to Dothan when Sarah was in second grade, and I think maybe a few years after that is when they started coming to Memphis, her and her sisters. And my brother-in-law, Clay Greathouse, he's at Memphis now as an associate pastor there. And but his wife, Carly, they were dating at the time. So through that, Sarah, Carly's younger sister, came to Memphis some too. And I remember a guy telling me, because the Gardinos, there's four of them. I remember one of the guys saying, he was like, "Have you seen the youngest sister before?" And I was like, "No." And then I saw her, and anyways, the rest is history. But that was probably, I think I was in 8th grade, because it was when I started at Emmanuel, was in 8th grade, was when we started dating. And I say it's embarrassing because you look back at pictures, and I just thought I was so cool, and all those things. But just also being so young, and
we need to dig up some of those pictures. We can post them.
They're out there
as part of this interview.
They're out there. But it also, things just get so serious, and you feel, and it's like middle school, and but it was good. The Lord was good in that, and we had your typical. We took our breaks and a few times, and
probably mostly your fault in that.
Yes, my fault.
Yeah,
and
I share that same story.
Well, but I mean, that happened in high school, and then I went to Mobile. But so we're essentially the same age, but I'm a grade older than her because I have a June birthday. But so I went to the University of Mobile while she was a senior here at Rehoboth, and then when I came back, she was getting ready to graduate, and she went to Auburn, so we kind of like missed each other there, and that didn't help, and all that, but it all worked out. And I'm trying to think. So she was at Auburn. I came back, finished at Liberty. And so then as she's wrapping up her time at Auburn, I'm thinking like, we need to get married. And the idea was I was going to, assume the role at Memphis, be the music guy there. Well, she was going to church at Lakeview in Auburn, and was telling me about this internship program that they have there and how awesome it is. But the big kicker of it is you support Raise to do it. And I just remember thinking, well, we're talking about getting married, so support raising doesn't really sound like a great thing. But it also, all the while, I'd never been to Lakeview, but all the while, like she just would always talk about how awesome it was and how she loved it. And I mean, I saw her growing in her walk with the Lord there. And there are other people that I'd seen that were our age that had gone, and I'd seen them blossom. But it also kind of got on my nerves because I'm at a church here, and I'm like, it's good here too. It isn't like that is so much better.
So that was under Pastor Dr. Al Jackson?
Yes, Dr. Al Jackson was there, and I ended up getting to meet with Adam, the music guy who was there then. He's still there now, one of my best friends and mentor. And we went and had lunch and talked about doing the internship, and Sarah and I prayed about it, and it just became clear that's what we should have done. I talked to several folks, and
so you had to raise your own funds for that.
Had to raise our own funds, and so we got to send a message out to our home folks here in Dothan, which was kind of tough. I mean, they supported us, and it was great, but it was like, you guys, it was never said, but I think it was kind of understood, like Zach might be the new music guy here, but it's like, okay, actually, psych. I'm going and doing this internship where now I need you guys to help support me.
Instead, pay me for me not to be here. That's a good selling point.
Man, that's a good deal for Lakeview if you can get it, right?
Yeah.
I never thought about that. Hire interns that pay themselves.
Well,
I like it.
But it was cool too because like Lakeview, those folks didn't really know me, and several of them that were in the music ministry helped support me in that way too. And I will say, for folks who know anything about Lakeview and that internship, what I did isn't the pastoral, like they do a deal where it's technically through Southern. You do 3 years and then you have your MDiv when you're done with that. This was just, I was serving under Adam, and I got to meet with Brother Al and all those things during the week. But So we were getting ready to do that in 2020. So we were going to get married in April of 2020 and then be going there to do that. And Sarah was going to go to school to do occupational therapy. So she had to continue and do like a master's, and that was going to be in Montgomery. So we live in Auburn. She was going to commute to Montgomery, and it was all going to work out. Well, then COVID hit. And so we actually pushed our wedding back to May because you can only have so many people in a room at one time. And there were still limitations when we got married in May, but...
So at your wedding were people seated 6 feet apart and that sort of thing?
You were
social distancing
supposed to be, but...
Did you guys get married wearing masks?
We didn't.
You
and
lift
that's
the
what
mask to kiss your bride?
I have to remember, but I don't remember people wearing masks.
I don't remember doing any weddings during COVID.
Any weddings during that time.
I guess we didn't. There was no one getting married during that time.
No.
The venue we had that was an outdoor. It was like a barn, but had a big outdoor thing, so that helped. We got married at Memphis, and then the reception stuff was out there. So got married, moved to Auburn, but now it's COVID, and I'm doing this internship at Lakeview, and they were just starting to have people back on campus, but you're having to be distance, and choir wasn't meeting. None of the regular rhythms were happening. Things were slowly starting to come back because it was when you were starting to see okay, I think we could do this. But they also had some struggle at Lakeview just because, they have doctors and people that are there as deacons and on staff. And so they're trying to get all this counsel. And we all were trying to figure out the best thing to do. And
we remember those days. Never do it again. I remember covering the door handles with plastic film. Mm-hmm. Remember that and all that stuff, man. This is a detour. I remember some of the things pastor friends of mine were doing in other places and other cities. It just seems so extreme. And whole air purification systems and just all this stuff coming in. It's like, oh my goodness, what in the world? But anyway, I won't get into that. I have strong feelings. About that season. But go ahead.
Well, so that was going to be a year deal that we did. But it ended up being 6 months because it was great. And I feel like I learned a lot there, and it shaped a lot of what I do now. But even Brother Al kind of started telling me, he's like, look, if there's opportunities that you see, things are not normal here right now. Yeah. And so feel free to look at that. Well, Brother Billy stepped down during that time, was still doing the music and on staff, but was wanting to transition. So they were looking, and I felt like that made sense for us to go and serve back at our home church and do that. And so that's what we did. And the rough part about it was Sarah was still finishing school in Montgomery. So it took her about 2 years to do that.
She's commuting from Dothan to Montgomery?
From Auburn to Montgomery. I was going from Auburn to Dothan a couple days a week for a little while. Eventually, that changed and got better. But it was very hard. And so very quickly I started feeling that, and you just can burn out pretty quick doing those things. And so it was great. And I love Memphis. They love us, and it's our home church. So it was a lot of fun to get to be there. But maybe I was there from 2020. Let's see. I started at Lakeview. My first week was VBS. No. When I interned, it was VBS, and we streamed it because no one could be in the...
You streamed VBS?
Yeah. So people watched it from home.
Yeah, we did videos and sent them out every day for the families to do them at home too.
Yeah, that's tough.
Crazy stuff.
VBS is not conducive to home VBS.
No.
Hey, no, everybody go get the green Jell-O cups.
Yeah, that's right. Where's
all right,
the
Mom,
goldfish?
you're the VBS teacher.
All right, now get out the clay and the...
Thanks.
And
Give me something else to do with these kids every day. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay, Dad, now the mission story.
So that was June of 2020. And then I was there through December. So I started January of 21 at Memphis and was there until March of 2023. And I don't want to share too much, that doesn't matter. But because of COVID happening while I interned, I served with Adam a lot, but I also got to serve with Greg Key, who was the pastor of media at Lakeview, and got to see all of those things kind of behind the scenes. And so Greg is a phenomenal graphic designer, and just the stuff he does is amazing. And he at that time, March of 23, or maybe a little bit before that, he actually decided to go work at the university in the engineering department as a graphic designer. He got to go do that for
So
them.
that opened the door for you to go back to.
And I was one of the first people they called. And like when I went to Mobile, I was doing worship technology. I had that struggle for a while of, do I want to be this behind the scene role doing these things, or leading worship and doing music? And things at Memphis were great. But when this opened up, like we did love our time in Auburn too, and we loved Lakeview. And Sarah was pretty connected to Lakeview just because that's where she was in college. And I just thought it was a great opportunity, and we pursued that. And so we went, and it was great at Lakeview because I got to do the behind the scenes stuff. But I also, Adam was who's the music pastor there. He was my direct supervisor, and so I got to be super involved with worship there too. But because of that, the Lord started stirring and showing me, as much as I do love doing these other things, it didn't feel to be my calling. Like there was no fulfillment in that. And so I started getting the opportunities to lead and do these other things. And that's how the Lord started making it clear that, like this is the kind of role I think that the Lord had for me. And, even though it isn't the most comfy thing, like I would say that I'm an introvert and don't just love spotlight, and even doing this is, not the most comfortable thing in the world.
Thankfully, there's no video today. It's just audio.
But he made it clear, and it kind of brings us where we are today. So I was there March of 23 until July of 26, and then I knew Calvary. You guys had been looking for someone for worship for a while, and
Yeah, we wish you to come around a little bit sooner.
well, I know that. So Sarah's sister Abby and my brother-in-law Reed, they are here with their family, and like we've seen them grow in their walk with the Lord, and just other things that we know about Calvary. Just thought very highly of it. And how long was Stephen interim?
Over a year.
Over a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Basically from Easter to the next July. So
Okay.
year and 3 months
Yeah,
almost.
He's definitely stepped into the fray.
Yeah, he helped a lot, but
yeah.
we were ready for
Sure.
permanency.
Permanent.
Yeah. I was thinking real quick for anybody thinking about this, talking about you growing up at Memphis, sister church here in the association to us, and being in leadership there, philosophically, we just would never poach someone from, I know sometimes people make some changes within local, but, we've had one other situation where one of our staff that we currently have came from another church, but this is the church he grew up in. His family's all here, and it was a very natural move, and plus a very different position. But, that in the transition there that you made from Memphis to Lakeview then to us, just in case people care, a lot of good conversations that I had with Pastor Jim at Memphis, and great guy there, and full endorsement, and enthusiastic about you coming. So just in case somebody's listening, like, whoa, they took Memphis's guy, which, by the way, Memphis has a guy now. You probably know him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so my brother is now the minister of music there, or worship pastor.
So that's a nice passing of the baton.
Yes, which I'd like to say, for the record, is that it sounds very odd, and it is odd, that it's brother to brother. But as I mentioned before, Drew was super involved with the music ministry there, playing drums, and like even leading. There was a time when I think he was like 16 or 17 where the minister of music left, and we were in a search for another one, and he was kind of like the interim. Does
Drew know we need a drummer?
I don't know that I have taught him about
Sorry,
that.
Jim.
But and so it is we were both very involved with the music there, and it was our home church, so it makes sense that either of us would be there. But it's odd that we were back to back.
Yeah.
So,
well, how's he doing over there? Is that a good natural fit for him?
Yeah, I think it's great. So Clay, I mentioned my brother-in-law that's over there serving.
So your brother-in-law is there, and your brother's there.
My brother's there,
Okay.
and they were roommates in college at Mobile. So like they're been friends forever. So.
Well, I guess that works out well for them.
Yep.
So when you were, maybe kind of a bigger question, you don't have to go deep dive on it, but when you were considering us, what did you see that was similar or attractive? I'm not asking you to shine our shoes, but what did you see that might make a connection between what you saw, what you were doing at Lakeview and here?
Yeah, I think the main thing is the way that Calvary handles the Word of God, and the importance that you guys put on it and the way you teach. And then also, even though you guys were in the interim side of things, even just watching some worship services and doing that, the songs that you sing are also biblically grounded, and yeah, you can see where they're coming from Scripture and where they're helping edify the body, and that's important to me. And I wouldn't even before. And I don't want anything that I say to sound like I'm down on anybody or anything like that. But before I went to Lakeview, I would have probably not has worried as much about the songs that I sang. Because even like, and it's going to sound funny because it's primarily what I sing now, but like just thinking of like Getty music, it's so good, but there's so many words a lot of times, and the melodies can feel just kind of skippy and like those kinds of things. And so I just remember thinking, like, it's just too much. People are not going to want to do that. But then I remember going to Lakeview and seeing people worship to that, but also understanding, like one of the things Adam told me is music is also helping shape some people's theology and philosophy. And so when you're singing songs that actually teach you about God or talk about God and who he is, you're helping them to actually be able to worship him better. Because if you...
No, I think he's definitely right. I mean, you think about, unfortunately, I mean, music is what it is. It's a tool. It's an instrument, and so it can be used for good or for not. But music does have a power, and so when that song is, for lack of a better word, it's catchy or memorable, and when people are leaving the service on a Sunday and they're getting in their cars or driving to work on Monday morning, they're probably not just repeating lines from my sermon.
Sure.
But they are going to sing. They're going to be singing to themselves. Sometimes even subconsciously you find yourself doing it. I'm just sitting in the car and like, that song's coming up. So yeah, I mean, having things that teach is critical because it's embedded. It's embedding down in there. Did Lakeview have a policy about what sort of songs they would, not even sort of songs, do they have a policy about who they would and wouldn't use and that sort of thing?
I feel like it was sort of unwritten. Adam had a lot of say, I think, and like if he had a ground, if he thought he could make a defense for like why we could sing this, he would do it. But he was pretty careful. Like there were some places if a certain name was on it, he probably wouldn't. But like for instance, I remember the choir there. I don't think it matters how it is, but the choir sang the blessing. That sounds like. It's the Lord bless you and keep you. Makes it straight from Scripture, and the choir did it. He didn't do it congregationally because he was being careful of.
Why is that produced? Does that come out of Bethel or come out of?
I'm pretty sure that. I think it may technically be out of Elevation. I'd have to double check that, but like Kerry Job did it, Cody Carnes, but I want to say it came from there. So maybe Furtick's name might be on it, but. Someone got upset about it, and it's like, look, they didn't write it. They just put the melody to it, like so that we could sing it this way and those kinds of things. But I also have heard him use the defense before, which I have kind of held on to, of Philippians 1, where Paul is imprisoned and there's false teachers going around, and I'm not quoting it great, but it's like, what are we going to do? Like they're out here proclaiming the gospel, like with these wrong motives and all these things, and Paul says, well, like whatever the motive may be, as long as the gospel is proclaimed. And so I'd heard Adam use that before too of, these folks may be doing this, but if you look at the lyric of this, it is Scripture and we can use it to glorify God. And
I mean, there's always some gray. We decided a few years back to stay clear of Bethel and Elevation and really most of Modern Hillsong. And a large part of that, the majority part of that, vast majority part of that is theological, because one, we didn't want to point people to those churches and ministries where they're going to get horrific teaching.
Sure.
Sometimes absolute false teaching, sometimes just sort of derivative, sort of, that's not really quite right teaching. Some of it absolute, objectively wrong teaching. And then on a much lesser scale, because it's not like the money fills their coffers, if we use their song, but we don't want to even support them financially. But, our thought was if you're going to listen to this song and say, man, I'd like to hear some more of that, then you want to download or, you want to find that one and put that on your playlist or something, we'd rather it be Matt Boswell than Stephen Furtick,
Well, I feel like typically too, there probably is a better song Like if there's
Well,
one that
there's
like,
not a shortage of songs. You know, I mean, it's not like we have to only use the stuff that's playing on Christian Top 40 radio or, Christian playlist on Amazon. I mean, on Amazon or Apple or Spotify or something. So, anyway, I just wonder if he had some general guidelines. But it sounds like from what I've seen of you guys there, when you were there, when I say you guys, you're us guys now, you're we. But what I saw then was they were probably careful, like we are, to align Scripture with Scripture with songs with sermons, all those things. That there was a purpose behind it.
Well, and when you're picking songs that go with the text for a particular sermon, it makes it a lot easier if someone does come to you about a song to be able to say like, well, this is where I'm getting this from. It lines up directly with this. And
so tell everybody, what do you love most about this job? I mean, I don't mean just your few weeks here, but like, what do you love most about worship leadership? Like, what kind of gets you going?
Yeah, I mean, I really do love what we're talking about, and like here is a text, here's kind of a theme for a Sunday, and then I love the side of being able to try to make that thread that the whole service flows from that. But then obviously too, just like hearing voices come together and sing is just awesome to me. And I think it's one of the coolest things that we get to do. And the gift of music God has given us to worship Him, like that's, I think, the best way, that we come together congregationally and lift high His name.
Before we wrap this up, because I know that we're tight on time today, because it's a big night tonight. So, one of the big parts of our corporate worship, which I'm actually involved in as well, is our choir. And so it's kind of like our first night of choir tonight. So talk a little bit about that and how that fits into worship.
Yeah. So I'm excited tonight. We have several songs that we're going to get to use, and I'm excited to see. I'm hoping there'll be some new, excitement, and maybe we'll get some more people involved. But with the choir, I'm excited to see. I know that I'm honestly not 100% on how the choir has been utilized, other than I know they would do specials a few times and then even be up there just to help lead. And that's kind of where I'm at. I would love to have them up even leading if there's not a special that they're going to sing, just because there's something about voices like that coming out with the power of it. But I do just think it's another way, as far as the music ministry goes, that you can be involved. If you don't have to play an instrument, you don't really have to be able to read music, to do those things. You just got to come.
That's good, because I don't. So I'm glad you allow me to still be in choir.
Yeah, you just want to worship.
I know if it goes up or it goes down.
Just watch
most
the
of
black
us
dot.
kind of know. And that's how we read music, so to speak.
Yeah, but
and not to slight the contributions of all the women that we have in choir, which we so appreciate, but man, we need some men to step up.
Absolutely.
We need some men to jump in.
Yeah.
To that would be great to see. Just some new life, some new voices too, to complement those who've been faithful.
Yeah, and I would say there are people out in the crowd every Sunday morning in the congregation who have either been in choir before or I know can sing, and we'd love for them to reconnect with us and really blow it out when it comes to the size of our choir.
I've had one person email me that asked Brother Randy, and he was like, "Yeah, they haven't sang before." So I know there's one new person that I think will come.
There you go.
All right. Maybe we'll be surprised. All right, last thing for you, Zach. I know you've been here just short time so far. But from what you've seen and just trying to take assessment, I know you're evaluating and looking around needs and opportunities and all that sort of thing. What sort of goals have you got? What sort of things would you like to see accomplished, maybe here in the immediate horizon, next several months, next 6 months, and then beyond? So what are some things on your radar that you're working towards?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd say practically, like some of the things that we even just have on the schedule of like, we're talking about a night of worship that we want to do. And so there are things like that I would love to see become regular. That right now it's a little intimidating trying to plan it out because I'm learning personnel and who we have to use, but I still haven't gotten to use everyone yet. Like even I know you've sing on the praise team stuff, and we haven't done that yet. But so practically, like those kinds of things. I'm looking forward to even Christmas. We have some ideas for that, and I'm excited to. Not that it's not about production, but to be able to do something like that well is exciting, and I think it helps with choir and the band when you have something special like that you're working towards. Not that what we sing on Sundays isn't. But you don't want that to be a challenge to where we're barely pulling off on Sundays. But when you have something like that you can work towards and do well, I'm excited to see what we can do in those areas. But what I would like to see, I don't know. I honestly have been so encouraged because, again, I knew of Calvary, but didn't know much about it at all, even with the worship. So Lakeview is known as a singing church, and when you go there, like, you experience that congregationally, not just from the platform. And so I didn't know what I would get, and I've been super encouraged by the way folks sing here. So and trying to think of goals and what I want. I mean, I would love to see that continue to grow. I'd love to see more people get involved. And like you mentioned, a drummer, like some of those needs that we have to
So
be
if you're
filled.
listening,
Yes, please. We'll teach you.
hit us up.
Yes.
If you were 5 and your parents pulled out the pots and pans and you love to bang on them,
Yeah. You just need rhythm.
come on, you just need to,
Yeah, rhythm.
Rhythm,
That's
and a
it.
love to
we'll
yeah,
work
hit
your
on
skills.
things.
We'll get you up there.
And I know you're working, evaluating and looking at some tech improvements, and
Sure.
just to improve the quality of things.
Yeah. Well, and that's I think there are things that could be improved. What's there is good. Things have come a long way, and that depends on there's decisions being made, and so that just depends on where we are and what we're doing. But yeah, I would love to see us just do everything with undistracting excellence. That's Adam's tagline that I try to hold on to is we want to do everything not so focused that we aren't worshiping and actually doing what we should be from the platform, but so focused on that we make it a performance. But we want to be done so well that we do eliminate distractions, and that then helps the body be able to worship.
So if anybody has any interest in, got questions about, want to get involved with worship stuff, maybe the easiest way is just to email you. Email you at Zach@calvarydothan.com. Zach without an H, without a K, just ZAC.
That's right.
So if you put one of those extras on there, it's going to go somewhere else. But reach out to Zach and let him know, whether that's choir or you play an instrument, or you just want to see how you can be more involved, how you can be more supportive. And I'll say this, I don't want this to just be a plug or commercial, but there are all sorts of needs to be filled in front of people and behind the scenes, tech stuff and people in support roles. I mean, we always need people back in the booth that can do things and are willing to learn to do things. You don't have to be an expert in those things. So with the computers back there and the presentation stuff, software and soundboards and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, there's absolutely places to be involved.
Yep. Well, Zach, thanks for coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being a part of this wonderful podcast that we have going on here. And we look forward to, I'm looking forward to your ministry here and for a long time to come. We're just excited to have you and Sarah here. And I know it's been, transition trying to move back from Auburn and settle all those things, but God will have a plan for that. And we're just glad that you're here.
So, yeah, we hope for a good long-term relationship. Yes. So Zach, get ready for your inbox to be lit up. I bet you're going to be inundated 2 or 3 emails today from people listening to this podcast.
Right.
Which I didn't say. I feel like I need to say this before. I also have a 2-year-old son, William.
Yeah,
and
tell us about the
4 or 5-month-old daughter, Lucy. So and they're so much fun, but it makes it. They make us interesting. Sarah was saying, she was like, it's so good having Lucy because she wears her a lot. And she's like, it's such a good conversation piece because people come and say something. But I noticed when I was going through the timeline, I completely left them out.
Yeah, that's critical. I thought about that maybe. And last thing, pray for Zach and Sarah in the selling of their house.
Yes.
That's a big part of transition, of course. In the move to Dothan is that house will sell in Auburn.
Yes.
So if you know of anybody looking for a house in Auburn, but Zach can hook you up. But just pray for that. Pray that is carried out quickly and well for their sake.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's it. That'll do it for us. Remember, we are for Dothan. No, we're not. I messed it up. For God.
We're not
for
editing
Dothan,
that, Charles.
For the world. We will.
For God, for Dothan, for the world. All right. Thanks, man. Thanks, Zach. See you
Thank
later.
you, guys.